Wherever you're listening or watching Radio Afinju, the time is 3 p.m.
Maka akụkọ okwu gbasara ndọrọndọrọ ọchịchị egwu ma ọ bụ ihe na-eme na Naịjirịa ma ọ bụ ihe na-eme na mba ofesi omenani mgbasa ozi ihe ndị a niile dị na Radio Afinju n'eziokwu Radio Afinju bụ nke ezizi na radio stations na Osun State. Radio Afinju bụ amaala n'ịgbasa ozi.
Ẹ bá mi pè o Afinju kí lorúkọ rẹ̀ Afinju rédíò Afinju gbogbo èèyàn ló ń gbọ́ Afinju gbogbo èèyàn ló ń gbọ́ Afinju lórí WhatsApp Afinju Instagram Afinju Facebook Afinju lórí X Afinju lórí YouTube Afinju lórí TikTok Afinju kí lorúkọ rẹ̀ Afinju ẹ bá mi pè o Afinju rédíò Afinju gbogbo èèyàn ló ń gbọ́ Afinju gbogbo èèyàn ló ń wo Afinju gbogbo èèyàn ló ń gbọ́ Afinju gbogbo èèyàn ló ń wo Afinju rédíò Afinju rédíò Afinju rédíò Afinju.
Stay informed with news on Radio Afinju.
First, a look at the highlights. Nigeria and Germany strengthen economic ties to boost investment. Special Offences Court frees Fani Kayode. India's Modi invited to meet with Trump next week. Good afternoon and welcome to the World News on Radio Afinju. My name is Pearl Durotoye. The news in detail. The federal government is strengthening its ties with Germany to promote foreign direct investment and stimulate economic growth. The Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Jumoke Oduwole, disclosed this while welcoming a delegation from the IHK Gießen-Friedberg Chambers of Commerce and Industry of Germany. The delegation's visit aims to enhance Nigeria's economic relations with Germany and explore opportunities for investment and job creation, particularly in vocational training, skilled migration and business development. The German delegation was led by the president of the Gießen Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Matthias Leder. In his address, Leder emphasized the mutual benefit, which aims to connect businesses from around the world in a B2B format. The Special Offences Court sitting in Ikeja, Lagos, has acquitted and discharged a former Minister of Aviation, Femi Fani Kayode, of the charge of medical forgery leveled against him by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. Justice Olubunmi Abike Fadipe, who freed the former minister, while delivering ruling on the no-case submission filed by his counsel, held that the prosecution failed to establish a prima facie case against him. The court upheld the no-case submission filed by his counsel, Norrisin Quakers SAN, and ruled that Fani Kayode had no case to answer as the EFCC did not link him to the offence. Before the court, Fani Kayode was facing a 12-count charge brought against him by the EFCC following his alleged use of forged medical reports, which he tendered before Justice Daniel Osiago of the Federal High Court sitting in Ikoyi, Lagos, where he was being prosecuted by the EFCC for an alleged 4.9 billion naira fraud. The Nigeria Labour Congress (NLC) has suspended its proposed protest over the 50% increase in telecommunication tariff. The decision was taken after the Labour Union met with the delegation from the federal government led by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume. The Director, Information and Public Relations in the Office of the SGF, Seguin Imoyosen, in a statement said the meeting was aimed at maintaining industrial harmony and to also protect the interests of Nigerians. He said that the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, who spoke on behalf of the federal government, said that the purpose of the meeting was to look into the study carried out by the NCC, which led to the 50% increment on telecommunications tariff. After extensive deliberation, the two bodies agreed to set up a 10-man committee comprising 5 members from the federal government and 5 from the NLC to review the study and submit its report within 2 weeks.
NLC is the largest organization in the whole of Africa, and there is no consultation of stakeholders that does not include us that will stand. It was on that premise that they now agreed to have a larger committee to look at the entire tariff structure and model and to come up with a realistic and an all-inclusive agreement. So the committee will be made up of 5 from both sides, and they're expected to come up with a result after 2 weeks. That will determine the next line of action and the process of engagement. The symbolic action of submitting the letters tomorrow will be put on hold until the outcome of such committee. The outcome of such committee is what will determine our next line of action in terms of protest, in terms of boycott, in terms of even withdrawal of services.
The NLC president, Joe Ajero, said that the union will wait till the outcome of the committee to determine its next line of action. Former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai has publicly acknowledged a fallout with its successor, Governor Uba Sani, attributing the rift to financial dealings involving conditional cash transfers from President Bola Tinubu's administration. El-Rufai's revelation comes in the wake of Governor Sani's dismissal of reports about any disagreements between the two leaders. Speaking during an interview, Sani described their relationship as cordial and dismissed speculations of a crisis. Sani criticized opposition politicians forming coalitions ahead of the 2027 presidential elections. He described them as power-hungry individuals who failed to deliver during their time in office. However, El-Rufai took to social media platform X to counter Sani's remarks, accusing him of sycophancy due to financial gains from Tinubu's administration. The feud between the two leaders has intensified against the backdrop of corruption allegations by the Kaduna State House of Assembly, which recently accused El-Rufai's administration of mismanaging 432 billion naira, leaving the state burdened with substantial debt liabilities. A chieftain of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Ayodele Asalu Asla, has called on the government and all stakeholders to join hands in the development of education in the state. This, according to him, will secure a brighter future for the state and the country at large. Asalu made this known while speaking with newsmen ahead of his annual orientation program and distribution of 350 West Africa Examination Council WAEC and 500 Joint Admission and Matriculation Board JAM forms to indigent but brilliant students in Ejigbo local government and 3 other local governments of Edra Federal Constituency in Osun State. Asalu mentioned that the motive of this laudable gesture is to contribute his quota to the development of the education sector and help actualize the dreams of young minds, and joining all other major stakeholders to also key into the project.
This 2025 edition is also strategic because it highlights my sustained commitment to the welfare of our people. While not holding any political office, I have sponsored this program for 10 straight years, showing my deep commitment to human capacity building in developing society like ours. My continued commitment to this cause and the positive feedback we get from beneficiaries are proofs of what we can achieve if all of us who are privileged can be so committed to the upliftment of underprivileged people and the empowerment of poor. I will encourage the government to do more for education. And if you discover, if you agree with me, I don't want to be political, because at times when you have programs like this, I don't want people to see it as if I'm being political. But the truth must be said. Government has not really done well in terms of education in Osun State. We have schools in Ejigbo local government where you don't have teachers. What we can only say is let us appeal to government to also come to our aid. Let government employ more teachers. In the last 2-3 years, this government has not employed any teacher. We are appealing to government to do something. More so, the funds the government has is not only for the government, it's for the whole state. Let them look into education, which I feel if any development will come into this country, it can only come through education. And I want to appeal at this level for government to do the needful.
He further noted that his team does not only issue free forms to the students, but also ensures their well-being in their respective institutions of learning to navigate the tricky bends of academics. He commended the federal government under the leadership of Bola Tinubu over the recently launched Nigerian Education Loan Fund, NEL Fund, which seeks to provide tuition-free loans, a policy which, according to him, has increased the number of academically sound students regardless of their financial might.
You will recall that the federal government under our leader, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, recently launched the Nigerian Education Loan Fund, NEL Fund, to provide tuition fee loans to indigent students. The policy of the federal government seeks to massively increase the population of academically sound young Nigerians, not minding their financial realities. A support program of our kind thus take out all the encumbrances that indigent students may encounter in their pursuit of academic laurels. Our effort thus complements President Bola Tinubu's vision of education for all.
One of the beneficiaries, Olakpade Ayobami, who expressed utmost joy for the privilege, prayed for the organizer of the scheme and urged other beneficiaries to be serious with their studies as a means of repayment for the organizer's kind gesture.
This is a great opportunity that come to, let me say, to my family and also to the school entirely. I'm working hard also to pay back because he did so wonderful. And I pray may the Lord continue to enrich his pocket, and may on engineer Ayodele David Asalu continue to reign forever. My advice to other students that benefited that we should not forget where we come from. We should not forget who take us to where we are.
It will be recalled that many beneficiaries have benefited from the ASLA Education Support Scheme. This year's edition is the 10th of its kind. A notorious bandit kingpin, Kachala Yarma, who was jailed in Niger Republic in 2015, has been released after serving his sentence. Bami Yarma has now returned to Katsina State 9 years later. This was made known in a post on X by Lake Chad Basin counter-terrorism and insurgency expert Zagazula Makama, who said Yarma, regarded as one of the deadliest bandits in the region, was captured in 2015 during the tenure of former Katsina State's governor Aminu Bello Masari. According to the security expert, the bandit's arrest was a major breakthrough in the fight against banditry, as it was caught smuggling arms using 9 camels in Dam Musa, Katsina State. Elsewhere, the alliance of rebel groups in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo have declared a humanitarian ceasefire starting today. In a statement, the group, which includes the Rwanda-backed M23 rebels, cited humanitarian reasons for the ceasefire after it has been capturing territory in eastern parts of the country. The UN said at least 900 people have been killed and 2,880 injured in recent fighting in and around Goma, DR Congo's largest eastern city, after it was seized by rebels. The G7 nations and the EU have condemned the offensive as a flagrant violation of DR Congo's sovereignty. The alliance of rebel groups, known as the Congo River Alliance, has accused the Congolese military of killing people using aircraft to bomb areas it holds. In Uganda, a trial of a vaccine against the Sudan strain of the Ebola virus has been launched following an outbreak in the country with 3 confirmed cases. The first patient, a 32-year-old male nurse, reportedly died last week. Sources said the initial participant in the trial, who is currently in isolation, received a dose of the trial vaccine, which was developed by the International AIDS Vaccine Initiative, a global non-profit organization. There is currently no approved vaccine for the Sudan strain of Ebola. One does exist, however, for the Zaire strain, which has been prevalent in the past in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Symptoms of Ebola infection include fever, fatigue, muscle pain, headache, and sore throat, followed by vomiting, diarrhea, rash, and internal and external bleeding. In Asia, Malaysia will actively build trade relations with other countries such as China, Russia, and Brazil instead of waiting for the impact of potential U.S. trade tariffs. Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim told Parliament waiting for United States tariff would have a negative impact on Malaysia, adding there was uncertainty following U.S. President Donald Trump's 30-day pause on tariffs on Canada and Mexico. However, U.S. tariffs on China are still due to take effect. Anwar said Malaysia could not act hastily in countering tariffs as there remained many geopolitical uncertainties. China has imposed tariffs on some U.S. imports in a swift response to new U.S. duties on Chinese goods, raising the stakes in a showdown between the world's top 2 economies, even as President Donald Trump offered reprieves to Mexico and Canada. Additional 10% tariff across all Chinese imports into the U.S. came into effect today after Trump repeatedly warned Beijing it was not doing enough to halt the flow of illicit drugs into the United States. Within minutes, China's finance ministry said it would impose levies of 15% for U.S. coal and LNG and 10% for crude oil, farm equipment, and a small number of trucks, as well as big engine sedans shipped to China from the United States. China also said it was starting an anti-monopoly investigation into Google, among others. In Europe, former NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg has become Norway's new finance minister as part of a cabinet reshuffle. Stoltenberg, a Labour Party veteran politician, was Prime Minister of Norway in 2000 to 2001 and 2005 to 2013, who headed the Western Military Alliance for a decade, including during U.S. President Donald Trump's first term, stepping down last year. At NATO, Stoltenberg was dubbed the Trump Whisperer for convincing Donald Trump to stick with the alliance after the U.S. president complained during his first term that allies were spending too little on defense and threatened to pull out. Non-EU Norway, a country of 5.5 million with an export-oriented economy, fears it could be vulnerable should there be a transatlantic trade war. Hundreds of people packed a port in Santorini in the early morning hours of the day to board a ferry and reach safety in Athens as a series of quakes kept shaking the famous Greek tourist island. Reports said hundreds of quakes have been registered every few minutes in the sea between the volcanic islands of Santorini and Amorgos in the Aegean Sea since Friday, prompting authorities to shut schools in Santorini and the small nearby islands of Ios, Amorgos, and Anafi until Friday. It was learned a tremor with a magnitude of 4.7 was recorded by the European Mediterranean Seismological Center on the island, most of whose popular white and blue villages cling to steep cliffs over the sea. More people were expected to fly out on an additional flight. In the Americas, U.S. President Donald Trump has invited Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi to visit the White House next week, hours after a U.S. military plane departed to return deported migrants to the country. Recall, Trump spoke with Modi on January 27, when he discussed immigration and stressed the importance of India buying more American-made security equipment and fair bilateral trading ties. India, a strategic partner of the United States in its effort to counter China, is keen to enhance trade relations with the U.S. and make it easier for its citizens to get skilled worker visas. It is also keen to avoid tariffs that Trump has threatened in the past, citing India's high tariffs on U.S. products. The United States is India's largest trading partner, and two-way trade between the two countries surpassed $118 billion in 2023-2024, with India posting a trade surplus of $32 billion. In the meantime, the U.S. Justice Department said it has formed a multi-agency task force to fight anti-Semitism in schools and universities, while the Education Department announced it was investigating 5 universities for alleged anti-Semitic harassment. The task force follows an executive order from President Donald Trump in which he warned resident aliens who joined in pro-jihadist protests that they would be deported, referring to pro-Palestinian protests on U.S. college campuses. Trump also pledged to revoke the student visas of those he called Hamas sympathizers, although many pro-Palestinian protest groups have rejected allegations of supporting extremism. In the Middle East, 15 Palestinian prisoners among dozens freed by Israel under the January 19 ceasefire agreement with Hamas have arrived in Turkey following deportation to Egypt. The Hamas prisoners' media office said they are the first taken in by the third country, apart from Egypt, under the ceasefire terms, which bar prisoners convicted by Israel of violent attacks from returning to the Palestinian territories. A Turkish security source said 15 Palestinian prisoners were due to arrive via Egypt but gave no more details. Hamas sources said the first phase of the ceasefire has led to Hamas' release of 18 hostages and Israel's release of 583 jailed Palestinians, of whom at least 79 were sent to Egypt, some to Turkey, Algeria, or Qatar. Officials said Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is expected to meet U.S. President Donald Trump at the White House to discuss Gaza and Iran. At least 20 people, most of them women, have been killed in a car bomb attack in northern Syria. The Syria Civil Defense, also known as the White Helmets, said a car filled with explosives blew up on a main road in the southern outskirts of the city of Manbij as a flatbed lorry carrying about 30 agricultural workers drove past. The agency had earlier put the death toll at 15, including 11 women and 3 girls, but another 15 women and girls were wounded, some of them critically. The presidency vowed to ensure that the perpetrators of what it described as a terrorist attack would face the most severe punishments. Now talking sports, Chelsea defender Ben Chilwell has joined Premier League rivals Crystal Palace on loan for the rest of the season. Left-back Chilwell, 28 years old, has not made a Premier League appearance since April 2024 and was told last August he was not part of Enzo Maresca's plans. The England international has only appeared once this season in the second half of the Blues Carabao Cup win against Barrow in September. Chelsea boss Maresca has previously said Chilwell, who has a contract until the summer of 2027, is free to leave on a permanent deal. Palace were keen to sign Chilwell to boost their defensive options after Morocco international Chadi Riyad was ruled out for the rest of the season with a knee injury. Chelsea signed Chilwell from Leicester City on a 5-year deal for £45 million in 2020 before extending his contract in April 2023. Before we go, here again are the highlights. The federal government is strengthening its ties with Germany to promote foreign direct investment and stimulate economic growth. The Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Jumoke Oduwole, disclosed this while welcoming a delegation from the IHK Gießen-Friedberg Chambers of Commerce and Industry of Germany. Elsewhere, the alliance of rebel groups in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo have declared a humanitarian ceasefire starting today. In the Americas, President Donald Trump has invited Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi to visit the White House next week, hours after a U.S. military plane departed to return deported migrants to the country. That was the world news on Radio Afinju. To view our channel, please follow us on Facebook, X and YouTube at Radio Afinju. The news was edited by Stella Durotoye. My name is Pearl Durotoye. Thanks for listening. Good afternoon.
Life no get duplicate.
Na so, èmi ò láàárọ̀.